sometimes really tough negative reviews.
uh,
We've got some fascinating stuff to dig into today.
yeah, should be a good one.
Yeah, I think this is going to give everybody listening kind of a shortcut, not just to dealing with the negative stuff, but actually using it, to make things better.
Absolutely.
And our sources pointed out some really common mistakes that people make, but then, even better, laid out some really solid strategies for what to do instead. So I think it will be really valuable for everybody.
Yeah, and I think for anybody listening in, whether you're actually running a restaurant now and you're dealing with this on a daily basis, or maybe you're just sketching out that, dream menu, dreaming of opening a place someday, or if you're just, interested in how businesses in this day and age respond to this very public feedback. What we're going to talk about today is really relevant. I think of it as kind of getting an insider's look at how to take something that can initially feel like kind of a punch in the gut, a negative review, and actually turn it into an opportunity, you know, for growth, for building stronger relationships with your customers. There's a lot of good stuff in here.
Absolutely. And I think it's easy to just want to kind of shy away from the negative and just focus on the positive. But our sources really drove home the point that these negative reviews can actually be really valuable. So let's jump into that first. Like, why should we even pay attention to them? It can be tempting to just, kind of focus on all the great reviews you're getting, but the data shows that this is really important. Like, one of the things we saw was that over 90% of diners, so that's more than 9 out of 10 people, check online reviews before they decide where to eat.
Wow.
So, that's a massive chunk of potential customers who are forming their opinions based on what they're reading online.
Right. So if you're choosing to just ignore those negative reviews, you know, what message are you maybe accidentally sending to those people who are just like you, who are checking those reviews online? It could suggest that, you don't pay attention to detail. Maybe you don't really care about the customer experience, and that has an impact on your reputation, right? One single negative review, if it's not handled well or it's ignored, can really make people think twice before they choose your establishment.
It's about being proactive too, right?
Absolutely. It shows you're trying to get better.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the points that I thought was really important that our sources made was that it's not just about playing defense, right? So it's not just about like, oh no, there's a negative review. How do we put out the fire? But these negative reviews can actually be a goldmine of insights for you as a business owner.
Absolutely.
So, think about it. When you as a customer leave a review, you're giving really direct and unfiltered feedback on, the service, the food, the atmosphere, whatever it might be, right? So instead of seeing it as a personal attack, you can actually look at it as free market research, right? These are customers telling you what they think could be better in their own words.
Yeah. That's such a crucial, mindset shift to make. Like moving away from that defensive feeling attacked to actually, looking for the opportunities. And I think when you start to see these negative reviews as a chance to really see where you could be weak and then make real improvements to your business, that's when you're going to see real growth. You have to learn to identify what's useful, what's valuable in that feedback, even if it's, disguised as complaining.
Right. It might not be packaged in the nicest way, always.
Right. But, for example, let's say you're seeing a bunch of reviews talking about slow service during the dinner rush.
Like, okay, yeah,
It's not just about fixing that one instance for that one person.
yeah.
Maybe it means you need to take a look at your whole staffing plan, right? You're looking at the big picture of the feedback to find those bigger issues that you might not even realize are there.
That makes total sense. So now that we understand why we should be paying attention to those reviews, even the negative ones, let's talk about some of the mistakes that people make. So what are the typical things that, restaurant owners or really any business owners do wrong when they get a bad review?
Okay, so the first one, and it might seem obvious, but it happens a lot, is just completely ignoring the review.
Right.
And like we just talked about, so many people are using these online reviews to decide where to spend their money, their time. So not saying anything, it's silence. It can look bad. It's a missed opportunity to show that you're engaged, that you're listening to what people are saying, and that you value their feedback.
Right. It's like you're having a conversation with somebody and they ask you a question and you just don't answer. It feels a little rude.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the second big mistake, which our sources pointed to, is getting defensive or even worse, getting into an argument online.
Oh, yeah, that never ends well.
It's so tempting, right? Especially if you feel like the review was unfair or maybe even flat out wrong. Your gut instinct is going to be to fire back, right?
Totally. It's completely natural to want to defend yourself, especially when it's something you've put your heart and soul into, like your business. But those online arguments, they can blow up so fast, and they can really hurt your reputation even more than that initial negative review. Remember, you want to look professional, and you want to find a way to solve the problem, not just win an argument in the comments.
Right. I mean, nobody who's reading those reviews wants to see you in the comments. Like, just going back and forth with somebody, it just gives the whole place a bad vibe, you know?
For sure.
Okay, so another common mistake we saw was just giving like a really generic, almost robotic response. Like, the classic, we're sorry for your experience.
Yeah, yeah, that's not going to cut it. I mean, you want to show some regret. That's usually a good place to start. But if it just sounds like a canned